Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell,
My name is Tom Ryman.
and we just watched Misery,
Missouri.
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 I don't know why that
I don't
delighted
know.
me.
How does the song go? Frustrated Incorporated.
Wait, what? Oh,
Misery
this is
Business.
the thing.
Yeah, the Soul Asylum song.
Oh, yeah. Good
That was
stuff.
terribly out of tune. I apologize, everyone.
Don't apologize.
Rob Reiner and Stephen King want to be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas and a safe and sane holiday season.
Never apologize to these animals.
No, I mean, no.
Listen.
I'm really apologizing to myself.
So, I just wanna say before we start, happy birthday to Alexis.
Woo! Happy birthday,
Alexis. I assume there's no from in this card. We were instructed
the
to say
universe.
happy birthday to Alexis from us. You know what? This is from us. No one
Sort
else.
of.
No one else.
Yeah. We're the shortstops of this gift.
Yeah, this is your gift. Your gift is us reviewing the movie Misery.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about you or the person
I
who
don't understand.
gave you this gift.
Don't understand the significance. And you know what? I don't care to. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's all fine.
I got to watch
So,
this.
happy birthday. We're going to talk about this 31-year-old film for you.
Yeah. Well, I got to watch this with Hannah, who had never seen it before, and she was pretty delighted by it.
Oh, yeah.
She showed me Audition, so I was like, oh, this is a good, this is probably where Audition got a few ideas, you know?
Yeah.
This is a Rob Reiner movie, which never fails to shock me.
Well, you remember Rob Reiner kind of got his start with Stand By Me, and his company is Castle Rock.
It makes sense.
He sort of kind of began his directing career, or not really began his directing career, but solidified it by making Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah, that's true. And then, of course, Barry Sonnenfeld, the DP.
He's a DP, yeah.
Yeah, the credits really hit you with a few surprises.
Yeah.
I love how this is they did the music is happy 90s saxophone. It has very 90s sensibilities, which is funny. It's one of those things I always forget about this movie is the tone is very much like the tone of a comedy in places.
I don't know that I agree. So let's.
Really?
I mean, we'll get into
all
that.
right. Well. First of all, I'm not going to ask you how you like Misery. We like Misery, right?
Yeah,
this is
Misery.
a good film.
Yeah, Misery is one of the best, arguably the best Stephen King adaptation. It just depends on who you talk to and how you feel, but it's definitely up there. It's going to be it's going to be near the top of anyone's list of King adaptations for sure.
Right. Well, what I wanted to get to with the comedy stuff is what I realized watching this movie is that the premise of the movie, like the book, I bet I wouldn't like. This all rests on Kathy Bates, in my opinion. This entire, James Caan is great too.
Oh yeah, no,
but she makes this movie.
Yeah, 100%. And she won the Oscar for it.
She sure did.
I wrote a piece for Collider on the rare occasion that I'm actually still allowed to write things. About that aspect of the film where this movie, I compared it to Training Day in the sense that...
You did?
Yeah, well, yeah, because
right.
It's a movie that depends on its cast and specifically on the strength of one performance in particular. Because like Training Day, Misery could have easily been kind of a forgettable, schlocky kind of, not schlocky, but like just a forgettable thriller.
Right, because the premise of this movie is completely broken, in my opinion, by the fact that it's a movie. And what I mean by that is that halfway through he's like trying to escape, and you're watching and you're like, he's not going to escape because the movie isn't over. Like, it's one of those, like anytime there's an escape movie, that's one of the things that they kind of have to battle with, where it's like, if the tension is, are they going to escape? And you're 45 minutes into the movie, the answer is no.
Well, I would argue that's not really the tension here. I mean, it's part of it, of course. The tension is more, what is she going to do when she catches him?
Yeah. But I think that rests on her, because they do these long sequences where he gets out of the room and he's dragging himself around the kitchen.
Yeah. And
they do make the tension of like, is he going to get out? And then she shows up. And then the tension is, oh my God, he's got to get back. But yeah, it's still, to me, it's what we're saying. That's fine, but without Kathy Bates, it really would have been forgettable. She's like, it's Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter here. Like, like this is incredible. And the one part of what I think makes it work is that she is kind of a comedy character. Like, she plays it at times like a comedic character. I'm sure there's a recut of the trailer to make this a comedy, right? That's got to be
probably
one of those things people have done. Because she, and the specific brand of unhinged she does is this like funny and vulnerable. Like, it's very good.
Yeah, no, she goes between very earnest, and then just terrifying. It's just terrifying bouts of rage, and then also she'll, like, when she walks into the room and is just kind of like dead.
Yeah. Oh.
Like she really, man. Like, and that's the idea, is that you never are sure which version is coming into the room, and you don't know what's going to set her off.
Yeah,
and when she gets set off, you don't know which version of Annie she's going to get set off to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like living with somebody. My wife grew up with somebody with borderline personality disorder, and it's very similar to that, where it's fucking crapshoot. Who's going to come in the room?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like the way they make her get like worked up over things.
Yeah.
Like at first the swearing in his book, and like later when she's talking about the what is it? The rocket car in the movie.
Yeah, the cheat. Yeah, but she's talking about, she saw a serial where they cheat their way through it by, like, the one episode ends with the hero locked in a car and flying off the cliff, and she's like, oh, I waited a week to see the next episode, and I got in there and they just showed us like a different shot of him jumping out of the car before it went over the cliff, and she's like, that's fucking bullshit.
I agree,
and she's right,
her, by the way.
Yeah, she's 100% right. And there's that undercurrent where she actually helps Paul become a better writer, although they kind of edit it out of the movie. It's stronger in the book.
Yeah, I see why they didn't do that. I mean, because I don't know. I can see them not wanting to avoid the idea of she helped him in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Watching this with Hannah, she was pointing out that Stockholm Syndrome is very much like her theory is that it's kind of a myth, and it's just that people want to get the fuck away. And so like this is what James Caan does basically, is he just feeds into her delusions.
Mm-hmm.
For the whole movie, and I almost feel like it would be cheap to make any of it rub off on him, Well, that depends. The theme of the book, I mean, obviously Stephen King wrote the book. In part, he's talked about it's his relationship with his fans, and how there's this feeling that he sort of has to, or is expected to, keep writing a certain kind of story. And so the part of the theme of the book is that he sort of learns to accept part of that responsibility, and how it can make him better. Because in the book, Paul ends up writing
the new Misery book and publishes it, and it's like one of the best things he's written. And like because of scenes like the one we see in the movie where Annie melts down over cheating your way through the plot,
Yeah, he writes a better book.
He writes a better book because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that actually does feel where the movie's heading. Like, his arc as a character doesn't feel complete for that reason, where at the end he just writes like a
different
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually felt like he should have put out the Misery book.
He should have put out the Misery book, yeah. And what he does... we'll go over the plot in a second because we're hitting some points. But like the climax of the film where he burns the book... in the story in the King novel, he burns a copy of the book.
Right.
Like he burns a stack of blank papers that has like I think the title page and a couple of pages on it. Like so he only has to rewrite like the last chapter or something.
Yeah,
but
I do like that a lot better.
He knew that he wanted to save this novel.
Right.
But
yeah, they do a little of where he's just like, in a way, I owe her, and it's like, yeah, but like that would have made a lot more sense.
That's
had that been the book at the end is the new Misery book. That really feels like what it's all building to.
Mm-hmm. That's the theme. That's like the theme of the book.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I would argue, and we'll get into the plot. I would argue that this movie on its own, because what you just said is way better, so I shouldn't say the book. This movie on its own would have just been an okay thriller had it not been for Kathy Bates.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are so lucky they got her, because it's not the lines. Like, the lines are fine. But it's her. She's amazing. Every scene.
Yeah.
Incredible.
She's very, very good.
Yeah. If people haven't seen Misery, it's about a writer named James Caan, who is Jimmy Caan, who writes these Misery books, which are just these like schlocky romantic novels.
They're gothic romance novels. It's some lady in like the 19th century, and it's they're you guys can picture them in your mind.
Yeah, and like every stupid fucking writer,
it's like Bridgerton.
He has like his own little dumb writer thing where he goes to a lodge and he has a cigarette and a glass of champagne.
He's very superstitious, and I can't remember the story that well. It only comes into play in the movie a little bit, but it's like a big part of his character.
Dumb motherfucker doesn't do backups of his scripts.
Nope, because he's an idiot.
Or his books.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those things that wouldn't exist anymore. Like, you couldn't do this movie where he'd be like, yeah, it's I got a Google Doc of this. Like, it's fine. You can't burn anything. But anyway, he gets into a car accident after finishing his new novel. He gets found by a nurse named Annie who once fought vampires. Is that canon now?
I mean, not in this film.
Yeah, I know.
But she once killed a man with an ice cream scoop, if you're a Castle Rock fan.
Yeah. Vampire hunter Annie Wilkes finds him, nurses him back to health. It's during a snowstorm, so the roads are closed, there's no phones, and then it slowly becomes very clear that she is just keeping him there. She reads his new book, is not that impressed with it. I didn't mention that he is ending his Misery series by killing off the main character. She's his number one fan. She goes out and gets the new book. She is enraged that he kills off Misery. At this point, it's very clear that she's very unhinged. So she basically burns his new book and forces him to write another Misery book and keeps him hostage in her house. And he's bedridden. And as he slowly gets more and more like healed,
his legs are fucking demolished and his shoulder is demolished. Like that's important. Like he is crippled by his injuries, and he's got a long recovery ahead of him.
So he's at the mercy of this nurse who's an obsessive fan, basically.
And she's also, I'll get into that in a second. Sorry, continue.
Oh, and so you kind of wonder, like, what the hell is her end game? And then she's like, murder-suicide. Yep. It's like, right, that makes sense.
Yeah, that checks out.
So she does have a plan. Good for her.
Yeah.
She re-breaks his fucking ankles because, again, also good plan, because he's getting healthier, and it's like, what are you going to do? Let him go? No, you got to break his ankles. You got to keep that James Caan in your house.
Keep that Jimmy Caan in the room.
Yeah. And so it's a series of him trying to get out or like almost getting out. Not really. There's a B plot, which is an old elderly sheriff and his wife who love to fuck. They love to fuck, right?
Mm-hmm. They're
she
fuck
wants
hounds.
to get. She like wants to get it on in the car at one point. She's like rubbing his leg.
Mm-hmm.
They're a healthy old elderly couple.
Yeah, they're just papery fuck hounds.
Yes, they really are.
Mm-hmm.
James Caan has been declared dead. The sheriff is the only one who thinks like, I don't know if he's dead. Like he sees that like someone clearly like crowbarred the door open of his car.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't tell anyone, it seems, and he just goes about investigating it. I do like his thread because you spend a lot of time with him and you think like, okay, I see how this is going to go, and then he's just shot.
He's just very unceremoniously killed. Yeah, he shows up. He shows up and sees James Caan, and then she immediately shoots him in the back.
Right, but it does create a situation where it gets us to the end game where she's like, okay, well, I just shot a cop. We're going to have to do the old MS, old murder-suicide now because I don't have, like, someone's going to be looking for this cop. And then he tells her, okay, I love you. Let's do this, but I want to finish the book. Just give me till morning. And he uses that time to basically set up a plan where he lights the book on fire. And that distracts her long enough for him to slam her on the head with a goddamn typewriter.
Mm-hmm.
It's James Caan versus Kathy Bates. The battle we didn't know we wanted, but we did. He super kills her.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a second.
It takes a second. The movie makes it like not only is James Caan like busted up and bedridden, but the movie also makes it clear that Annie is as strong as an ox.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
They fucking fight.
Yeah. She has a rich history of murdering babies.
Mm-hmm.
That makes you strong.
Yeah. Makes you powerful. You gain all of the strength of all those babies. And after a while, that baby strength adds up.
Right. Like one baby, that's nothing.
That's
but like
just no baby strength, but it's like 100 babies. Now we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it ends with him back in the big city with his manager.
Lauren Bacall.
Yes.
Yep.
He's written a new novel and it's like award winning and it's not schlock anymore. And then a waitress comes up and he sees Annie as the waitress. And he recognizes like he's riddled with PTSD.
Yeah.
And then the waitress is like, I'm your number one fan. And it's like, I would put out like a press release to be like, no one would say that to me anymore.
Please nobody approach me and say that to me.
Yeah. Like it's like the one person that as a fan I would avoid, I wouldn't go near him because it's like,
he went through some shit.
He went through some shit at the hands of a fan.
Yeah, so that's the basic plot of the movie. And like we've said, Kathy Bates is just amazing in it. It's the movie depends on her, and it's she's so good in it. James Caan, I think, is one of the movie's biggest weaknesses, and it's not because he's bad. He's James Caan. He has a very natural charisma, so he's believable in every role he's in. Like he's doing a perfectly fine job as Paul. It's just the problem is that he treats Annie like a nuisance. Like he never seems afraid of her.
That is a good observation because I was going to say I really like him in this. He really sells the pain he's in.
He's great in those sequences where he's like getting out of the room and trying to get through the house, and you really feel every time he bumps his foot, it's like agony for him.
So
like I said, James Caan is a good actor and he is doing a good performance in this movie. I just think he was miscast.
Really?
Because he's such a tough guy. Like he has got this tough guy persona. He's fucking Sonny Corleone.
Right.
And so I always get the vibe that he is just biding his time until he can beat the shit out of her.
I mean, that is the vibe.
That is what he's doing. But it's like, I don't think it's right for the movie.
That's interesting. I actually liked him in it because you have this guy, a tough guy, a De Niro type, being put in this position where they can't do shit. And
I always thought
his
the point
annoyance,
of his casting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I always thought his annoyance had to do with the fact that she needs him. He knows she's not going to kill him. He knows that she will fuck him up. But I always thought that was the idea, is that like when she's waving to him, calling him a pumpkin, and then he flips her off, and she's like, "Oh, you're
such
like,
a kidder." Yeah.
yeah. It's the idea that like she's not going to kill him because she needs him to write the book. So he is like a rebellious prisoner.
Yeah.
I understand that it doesn't sell the terror.
It doesn't sell the tension of the movie. It's you feel more outrage than fear.
Yeah,
because you're feeling the injustice of his imprisonment more than the fear of it, and the story is much more about Paul living in fear of Annie because she's so mercurial. You don't know how she's going to react to anything.
Right. This is going back to why it felt tonally very close to a comedy, because he is not that scared of her. Mm-mm. And then she has these scenes where she's being funny, and so it's almost like like he's a cop and she's his partner, you know?
A little bit. Yeah.
They have a little of that, but I really like her being like borderline comedic because it makes her scarier.
It's not
like in a weird way.
Yeah, not an issue with her performance at all.
I know, but like her coupled with him, it's like a weird dynamic. It is like a comedic dynamic between them, which is interesting. You're right, is that it really comes down to her performance. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I like what James Caan is doing. But...
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And that might be my bias for being such a fan of the story as well. It seems like it's undermining itself as a thriller by having James Caan be annoyed rather than scared.
I get where you're coming from. I just hadn't thought about it. Is that if they played him a little more vulnerable, a little more like a wussy writer, you know?
And what's interesting is they kept with that dynamic when they did a stage version of Misery. They cast Laurie Metcalf as Annie, and they cast Bruce Willis as Paul. So they were doing they're doing the same idea, where it's like, let's cast this guy who has this tough guy persona, and let's have him be in a position where he can't actually physically defend himself.
I want to see that.
Yeah,
Holy
right? That probably would have been nuts.
Holy shit. Yeah, man. That is weird, because it doesn't sound like it's part of the book, but it became like a tradition through the movie.
Because of the movie,
we need a tough guy.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like they're too focused on the fact that Paul is can't, like, that his legs are fucked up and his arms fucked up.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's another premise there, which is tough guy action star is suddenly can't use 70% of his body and has to get out of a situation. Mm-hmm. That's a compelling premise. It's not Misery. Mm-mm. Like, that's not the premise of this movie.
Right. It's like it feels like a hat on a hat, because you have the one layer of, it's like, well, how do we explain how this and there's some sexism mixed in here. It's like, so that you begin from a place of, how do we explain how this man can't physically overpower this woman? And they do a couple of things. They first are like, well, Annie is really strong. She works on a farm all day. You know, she lifts. We see several times in the movie where she just lifts his ass up fucking easy as shit.
Yeah, when she carries him from the car.
Just busts the car open. Like, she works on a farm. She's
She's got that survivalism in her. Like, she's got that pet pig too.
Yeah, big pig named Misery.
Which in the credits played itself, and that surprised me, because usually when animals are in movies, they actually have their own names.
Yeah,
and not the names they're cast. So this was like, this is just the pig was like, yeah, I'm playing myself.
So
I'm Misery the pig.
They explained that Annie is very strong. Then they also fucked Paul up bad, and he needed to be because that not only that more serves the function of how come he can't just escape when she's not around. So that they have his legs are like pulverized, and also his shoulder is like crushed. So he's got one good arm basically.
Right.
But then on top of, I don't know, it felt like they were really, I don't know. It's like we already have enough of an explanation as to why he can't be escape, and then it seemed like the additional layer of casting a tough guy in that role to really make it clear for the audience, I guess.
I get the instinct. I get the idea of,
I totally
wouldn't
understand
it be
the
fun
instinct, yeah.
if we got someone like this?
Mm-hmm.
But like the hardest part is, I mean, writers come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't feel like a writer either.
James Caan, no.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm sure
the idea that James Caan is sitting there writing these gothic romance stories.
Well, okay, yes and no, because you look at R.L. Stine's an example where you read like teen novels or something, and you look at who wrote it, and it's like some 40-year-old dude.
Yeah.
So like there is something there where it's like, yeah, I can see a romance novelist looking like James Caan, but it's also James Caan.
Right,
and
it's not just that he looks
him.
like James Caan. It is literally James Caan in this movie.
Yeah, there's just something a little silly.
But
that's
Sonny Corleone writing these romance fantasy books. Like that's like what he's secretly into.
Yeah. It's hard because it's very much like, we know it's the thing where you cast anybody famous to play a role. You have to do it just right. Like James Caan, I don't think about as a tough guy nearly as much as a Bruce Willis or even a Robert De Niro.
Yeah,
and that's just because of my relationship with him, like growing up and stuff. Like this might have been the first thing I saw him in, honestly, as a kid.
I think it's the era too. Like for people, this movie came out in 1990. So if you were, I don't know, in your 30s in 1990, you would probably have more of an association of James Caan with being a tough guy.
Right. Yeah. It's funny we're talking about the casting so much because it really is. That's all this movie is. It's two actors doing like the scenes that are the most compelling aren't the ones where he's trying to escape. It's just the scenes between them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what this movie is. It's the heart of the movie. Did you notice this was something I didn't notice until now, and I don't know if I'm out of my mind. Did this movie remind you of Psycho?
Maybe a little.
It has Psycho vibes to me, and I think it's because of some of the broad strokes. It's a character goes missing while driving, and then you have the thread of people trying to find that person. We don't. It's not a mystery what happened to that person, and then you have this character who's like kind of still a child in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and trying to maintain an appearance.
Exactly, trying to cover it up and hide it, and so you're following these two threads, and then they kind of at the end they merge, and all masked off moment. The difference being that Norman Bates killed that woman, and the people the differences. But it very much gives me, and it's also like one location too. Like I don't know because I don't think Stephen King was thinking about Psycho when he wrote the book, but it gave me like hardcore Psycho vibes.
Yeah, there's definitely an element there for sure.
And both movies, I would say, are almost completely hinged on a single performance that fucking nails it. And that performance is most scary in the scenes where they're just talking. It's the slow burn stuff. It's the scene with Anthony Perkins talking about fucking stuffed animals and his
birds,
mother.
And his mom. Yeah, and then it's similar. There we only really get one scene of Annie being outwardly violent when she demolishes his ankles, and it's similar with Norman Bates where we don't really see it. It's not built on physical threats of violence so much as just the quiet moments of the performance where you're just like, oh, okay, this is I'm in trouble.
It's all about these terrifying little subtle performances.
Something we should call out: the screenplay was written by William Goldman.
Oh, what else has he written?
Princess Bride,
a bunch. Yeah, good for him.
I mean, Butch Cassidy.
Butch Cassidy.
I think all the President's Men. Like he's written a few things.
Yeah. He's doing good. He's doing good for himself. Yeah. Did he also write Dreamcatcher?
No, I think that was.
I know that's somebody.
That was Kasdan, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think it was Lawrence Kasdan.
Okay. We don't have to.
We don't have to do this. But like, so anyway.
Hold on, I'm checking.
Well, I'm
William Goldman. It's
William Goldman. Oh, okay. I thought it was Kasdan.
And Lawrence Kasdan.
Oh,
it's both of them.
Both of those motherfuckers.
They teamed up to make a horrible movie.
They teamed up to make one of the worst Stephen King adaptations.
That's amazing. Look, they've earned it.
Mm-hmm.
They've earned it. Yeah, he also did Marathon Man. Damn. What a great career.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck yeah, he did Chaplin. He did Maverick.
I mean, speaking of Marathon Man, Dustin Hoffman was one of the roles one of the actors they offered Paul Sheldon to.
That makes way more sense.
It's like, look, listen to some of these. They offered it to William Hurt twice, apparently.
Wow.
William Hurt would have made a lot of sense. Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
Kevin Kline.
Yep.
So it's Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas is more of a James Caan type.
Yeah, but I can see that.
Harrison Ford. Oh, they really went across the board. Harrison Ford, Dustin Hoffman, De Niro.
Yeah, I wouldn't give it to De Niro.
And I'd say Pacino.
Oh no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Okay.
Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman's pretty close to James Caan.
Oh, Gene Hackman, that wouldn't work.
No, he'd be even more irritated with Annie.
He'd be terrifying.
Right, he would be scaring Annie.
Yeah.
And Robert Redford.
Okay. I would give it to Harrison Ford can really sell pain. And he's got that thing where he's a tough guy, but he's also like the type of tough guy who gets his ass kicked a lot. Like he doesn't strike like Indiana Jones doesn't strike me as like a formidable person,
right?
Much as like a slippery guy,
right? He's kind of clownish. Like he stumbles into situations, gets his ass beat most of the time, and kind of scrambles out by the seat of his pants.
Yeah, he cheats. He shot a man with a sword.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I'm not gonna fight him.
So I think he works. Also, just he's very good at selling pain. Shit. What was one of the other ones? Kevin Kline. I don't think works. I think it's too far the other way.
I'd like to see Kevin Kline. I think William Hurt was a really good instinct.
Yeah, I don't like William Hurt.
Oh, you don't? I don't know. I think he's great.
I don't like his face. He looks like he smelled a fart.
Mm-hmm. He does look like that.
He's made some great movies. He's a perfectly nice and good actor,
as he's known.
Yeah, I just don't like his little fart face.
His little fart face.
This little dumb little fart face.
Apparently the closest before James Caan eventually got it was Warren Beatty.
Oh no.
And
Warren.
he eventually had to drop out to make Dick Tracy.
Oh, that's fair.
Because Dick Tracy ran over schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta make
you gotta make Dick Tracy. That film needs to exist.
Yeah.
Man, both Dick Tracy and Misery came out the same year.
Oh, what a great year.
This movie came out the same week as fucking Home Alone.
That's amazing. It still does have those 90s sensibilities though, right? Like there's little things like the saxophone credits music to like this like terrifying text saying Misery, which is very funny to me. Like what I guess what I'm getting at is like the same way
it's typewritten
you watch
text.
Yeah. But it's like red. It's the same way you watch a horror movie in the 2000s and then they end it with some new metal song, where it's like that's just how we did things at the time.
Can you imagine fucking Misery starts?
It would if it was made in 2003. That's the thing. It's a movie of its time is what I'm getting at. It's not a timeless film.
No, it's not. I would argue a little bit against it having 90s sensibilities, though, because this movie would have been it's more 80s. This is more late 80s because it came out in 90, so it was filmed in 89.
Right.
But it is very much of its time. A lot of it depends on being in an era before cell phones and before the internet.
Oh, for sure. I mean, what are you going to do about that?
What are you going to do?
They weren't invented yet.
They didn't fucking exist yet. What do you want?
Again, he should have made a backup. In the 80s, he could have made a digital backup of his book, though.
He could have. He could have. I mean, you could
put that shit on a floppy disk.
Home computers existed at this time.
Yeah. No, that's dumb of him. Like that idea, I don't know. We're both writers. Like to me, I have the complete and opposite instinct when it comes to any writing, which is I'm making 1 million copies. I have
4,000 copies of everything across many different locations. Like it's like a OneDrive and Google Drive and this backup and that backup and hard copies, and it's just like, Jesus, all right.
This is one of those things, I don't know, Stephen King wrote this, he's a writer, but I feel like it's the same where when you watch like how a movie is made in a movie, or like a movie that takes place on a movie set, where you're like, they're not doing it right. And they make movies, so they know they're not doing it right. The idea that writers have like this romantic relationship with writing, where it's like, I'm going to smoke one cigarette and stuff like that. Like, I just don't believe that.
Well,
I never believe that. I've never met a writer who was put together enough to have like traditions and like had this really like that Hemingway view of like writing, where it's like, no, it's just panic. It's just anxiety and panic.
Yeah, then
the thing's done.
That's most people. Stephen King is not most people.
I know, but I don't believe that Stephen King
is kind of the
does.
outlier. I mean, he talks about it a lot. He wrote on a typewriter for the longest time.
Fucking hipster.
I mean, he started in the fucking 60s.
So what? I'm going to call him a hipster.
So he just stuck with the same typewriter for years and years.
Yeah, that's
you know, I don't know. It's who can say?
Yeah, I just think
but the typewriter becomes thematically important.
Yeah, I just think the mystification of writers came from writers, right?
Yeah,
like it's just writers lying about how they write.
Yeah, it's fucking it's Game of Thrones ending with Tyrion going like, the real heroes are the writers.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
storytellers. Like, shut the fuck up.
It's like, oh, you motherfuckers. Yeah.
And we're all sweating, pounding caffeine, eating mountains of candy, struggling to meet a deadline. That's what writing is.
Physically falling apart.
Writing is a debilitating stress and panic. That's what writing is.
Yeah. It's the movie Misery.
It's the movie Misery, yeah.
Just not the part where he's writing.
It's Misery is the literal representation of the experience of writing.
Was there a
feeling
theory, by the way,
chained to a typewriter?
Yeah. Was there a theory, by the way, because you said this was about Stephen King's relationship to his fans. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say this is about his relationship with cocaine, his number one fan.
Yeah.
Because it feels more like that. It feels like someone's relationship with writing in general. And I guess that's the idea, is that Annie represents the expectations of the fans. Mm-hmm. The anxiety of that, of trying to make this thing and imagining your fans screaming at you.
Can I do something different?
Yeah. Yeah. And the answer is no, Stephen King.
I mean,
every time you do something different, you make some crap like Shawshank Redemption. No one likes that.
That's true. Yeah, it's a real terrible movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So going back to the casting, I'm not sure how to fix it.
I don't know. I mean, I get
what if they cast it wrong and it didn't work? What if the movie never got made?
Yeah. I just think I recognize the intent behind casting James Caan, and James Caan you're always going to get a quality performance out of him because he's a good actor. Yeah. I just think he's miscast in this movie. I think his casting hurts the movie's ability to be a thriller.
It's not, going back to Silence of the Lambs, it's not the fact that it's like Jodie Foster was perfect too, along with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean, where the dynamic, it does feel like she's giving this great performance and then it cuts to him like kind of smirking. And it's like,
well, his role is also
doing it justice.
Yeah, his role is also, and that's not entirely James Caan's fault. The character is mostly reactionary.
Yeah.
Just by the nature of what the movie is. Like, he's a prisoner, so kind of everything he does has to be a reaction to Annie.
Right. He does try to play it like, you know, when she gets him in the basement, he is scared. He is scared in scenes with her.
Yeah, there's some, but it's an overall tone. And you know, and it's the other side of the coin of the sort of stunt casting idea behind James Caan. It's like, hey, let's get this tough guy and put him in a situation where he can't defend himself. The other side of that coin is that the audience is looking at him as the tough guy. So it's like they don't believe he's in trouble.
Yeah,
because it's like, well, he's fucking Jimmy Caan. He's gonna beat her to death with that typewriter. You wait. And sure enough.
Again, a part of me, that's So part of me watching this was like rooting for Annie, but not for any like, oh, fuck that guy or anything. Just because Kathy Bates is doing such a good job.
Killing it. Yeah.
It's the same way you root for Hannibal Lecter, where you're like, I just like what they're doing.
Right.
I don't want to hang out with them.
Yeah. It's the same reason why when you watch like The Dark Knight, you're kind of just waiting for Heath Ledger to come on screen because it's like,
right.
I don't necessarily want the character to win. I just want to see more scenes with them.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see more. Like I don't want Annie to lose because then that means we don't get any more scenes with Annie.
Exactly. It's just she's doing so fucking good.
Yeah.
But also the sheriff. I wanted that fuck hungry sheriff.
Yeah, man. That
involved.
That sex wizard.
I forgot about that. The sheriff.
Yep.
Like he's yeah.
He is a character they created for the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I think they needed it.
No,
I think
he's very necessary because we couldn't. The novel is all from Paul's point of view, but we couldn't. That would be very hard to do with the movie. So they wanted to. You needed to create that character to kind of show what the outside world is doing while Paul is trapped, for sure.
Right. I'm also looking at the cast and seeing that Rob Reiner played the helicopter pilot.
He sure did. Yeah. That's Rob Reiner as fuck. I'm like, hey, Meathead is flying that helicopter.
Also, I missed JT Walsh somehow.
Did you?
Wait, I must not have.
He's the state trooper giving the press conference when they find Paul Sheldon's car, and he's
giving the terrible press conference
in that one scene. That's
he was eaten by animals, and it's like, Jesus, man.
Yeah,
his family's watching.
Being a real JT Walsh character.
Yeah, holy shit!
It's so funny that because I think he was a person at the time. So it's just he's as a character who doesn't even have a name. One scene, it's like, oh, JT Walsh is here, I guess, and then we never see him again.
Yeah, that's fucking weird. Could you cast this today? Like, it's so hard because again, it's like saying, could you cast Psycho today? And obviously, you get Vince Vaughn. Like, how do you cast this character, Annie? I guess they did it.
They
Castle
did it.
Rock.
Yeah, Lizzie Kaplan was quite good.
That was a good choice.
Yeah, not an obvious one. I wouldn't have thought of her, but like watching the show, I was like, "Fuck, she's good. She's killing it."
Yeah. What do you think about the? It's like one long joke, the swearing thing, because of course the punchline is that at the end she calls him a cocksucker.
Yeah, when she gets that's one of the ways you can tell when she's in one of her fugues is that she'll start cursing up a blue streak.
Does she curse in the other parts too?
Sometimes, but it really only comes out in the end when she's completely flown off the handle. Yeah.
Right. It just felt like a very long joke where it's like she hates swearing, she doesn't swear, and then she whips out one of the worst swears at him, and it's like, Jesus Christ. What do you think about that? Do you think like it reminds me of there's a Christian stand-up comic that I was looking at for research talking about how like it's unfair that they don't have swears because like, yeah, if you get hurt, that, you know, swear words are kind of the perfect thing for that. So that's what it's kind of saying is that like everybody swears. The idea that anybody would pretend to be above swearing is silly. I think that's the idea, right? It's showing her own hypocrisy.
To an extent, I also think it's a way of showing that she's not present or that she's not herself or that who herself the nature of herself changes. You know, like
the implication is almost that that's her true self. Like she is just evil.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
but yeah, that is one way. That is 100. Yeah, absolutely one way to read it is that this is her mask off. But I didn't take it that way.
Right,
because Annie is a person who is supposed to be mentally ill. So I think they're both her real self. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's or I don't know. It's hard to explain.
I'm wondering how the movie implied it because I think you're right.
It's hard to tell.
But it's a weird. It's actually I'm not. I guess I bring it up because I almost wish they didn't do it. I almost would have liked her calling him a duty head while strangling him. I think that would have been interesting too. But yeah, it does say different things.
And I think, because in the movie, I feel like it comes out a little bit more in the story, but in the movie, I do think it only comes out in that final scene. I think it's, in the film, it's more like point of no return signifier.
Right.
Like it's like damn the torpedoes or whatever. It's like she's just going whole hog now.
Right.
All other considerations are by the wayside.
Yeah. So I just saw a little trivia for this, and I need to point it out. Apparently, James Caan showed up to the set so hungover that the entire day of shooting they had to throw out. They couldn't use any of the scenes they shot. And that's awful. Apparently, Rob Reiner told him that they lost the film in the lab. Like he said, there was a problem at the lab, so we lost the film. James Caan then learned the truth, and he offered to pay for the cost because he probably felt really bad.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad he felt bad that he was so hungover that he lost a day.
That's the Shaw story from Jaws. And he fucked up. He fucked up the Indianapolis monologue so bad that they lost, because he was so hammered. So he felt so bad that he came back with it memorized in the take that you see in the film.
Yeah, but it's very, very funny that this was the era where that could happen. Where
I'm sure it still happens.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You just show up very true. Just so fucked up that you just ruin a whole day.
Yeah.
So come on, guys.
Dumb problem.
Come on, guys. Yeah. How hard is it to not do that?
Yeah, we're paying you a lot of money.
We're paying you a lot of money. Now, in the case of Jaws, they were they were supplying Shaw with booze.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels more like Apocalypse Now, where it's like, oh, perfect, shoot it. This might be amazing.
Different era of movies.
Again, different era. Yeah, it was an era where terrible things were happening.
We got Robert Shaw. We better give him whatever he wants. So it's like they would go to his trailer in the morning at 6, and they'd already be bringing him drinks.
Right. It's an era where a film set wasn't quite a workplace yet. Like, it wasn't thought of that way. It was like more pretentious and like, we're making art where all bets are off,
Yeah,
we're gonna kill some people with a helicopter.
Because that led directly into the auteur, the self mythologizing auteur era of filmmaking, where it was just a bunch of shitty white people being reckless as fuck,
being awful. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
This is fucking Sean Landis.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Never gonna die. Gonna have a terrible son.
That's what he shouted during sex.
Yeah. Let's make a terrible kid.
Any more thoughts on Misery?
No, it's such a unique film because it's definitely not a bad movie without Kathy Bates. It's just not essential without Kathy Bates. It's not like a classic without her in it. No,
it all rests on her. Mm-hmm. It's really like if they didn't have her, they would be fucked.
Yeah. It would just be another movie on the pile of King adaptations. You'd be like, yeah, that was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be somewhat lost. I think it would be.
We probably wouldn't be doing this episode about it.
Yeah. She's so goddamn good. She's amazing. Because and this was like her breakout role too.
Yeah, I don't think she had done much at all before this.
Yeah, she was like a theater actress. It's wild to think of it in that context too, of her just like showing up on the scene and doing this and immediately getting a fucking Oscar, and it's like, yeah,
that's what happens.
Incredible.
It's really
she had done like TV and little things. Like she wasn't unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But like this clearly, I mean, holy shit. Also, she was in Dick Tracy. I just realized that.
No, I didn't know that.
I'm seeing here Dick Tracy. Yeah, Kathy Bates has a credit as Miss Green. So, okay. I don't know what I just learned. I don't know what that means to me. So Dick Tracy and Misery came out and both have Kathy Bates in them.
Yeah, sometimes people are in more than one movie.
I know, I'm just saying 1990.
I mean, James Caan is also in Dick Tracy.
Oh, you're right.
Uh-huh.
Holy shit.
Everybody's in Dick Tracy.
I know, but I don't know, that's weird. Because I feel like those were the two movies that I'd be watching, and they're just like jam-packed with your James Caanses and your Kathy Bates.
Your James's Caan.
Yeah, and almost your Warren Beatty.
And your Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty.
But yeah, this movie, I think the fact that, there are so many big names involved with this movie, like we were saying, it's got Lauren Bacall in it, it's directed by Rob Reiner, it's written by William Goldman, but we didn't remember any of those things going into this episode.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Kathy
Lauren Bacall,
Bates.
I would say this is a waste of a Lauren Bacall.
I mean, this is.
I'm not sad to see her. It's great seeing her.
I think this was a stage of, this is a stage of Lauren Bacall's career where she was kind of sprinkling in little cameo supporting appearances. This is, this is that stage of a screen legend's career.
You want to hear a bummer? I just clicked on her name. Her last role ever was an episode of Family Guy.
Sure.
Yeah, and that killed her.
Yeah.
That's what did it.
The weight of that.
Yeah. No, it's great. Again, great seeing her. Great seeing her. But she's Lauren Bacall, and she's has 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
It's Jimmy Stewart voicing that cartoon dog in Five Goes West. It's just
yeah. That's true.
I'm 80. Fuck it. Let me show up for a day.
Is she 80 in this?
No, I mean she's old. I don't think she's 80, but
she looked great.
She's probably would have to be in her 70s, right?
Wow, she looked banging in this.
Yeah, she looked great. Yeah. She's Lauren Bacall. What do you want?
Yeah. I mean, I think this movie is low key just hot old people too.
Yeah.
That sheriff and his wife, I felt that sexual energy coming off of
that
them.
tremble, that sexual tremor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's man.
Yeah. I think we said enough about this movie.
Yeah, I guess we did.
Yeah. We covered it.
All right. Well, once again, a big happy birthday to Alexis. I hope this was everything you needed it to be.
Yeah.
I hope that. I wish that for you, and I hope you have a fantastic birthday, filled with joy and whatever drugs you desire.
Yeah.
Or no drugs. You don't have to have drugs. You could be 8 years old for all I know.
You just really wanted to hear us talk about misery.
Yeah, I'm just guessing. I'm guessing here. I know nothing about your life, Alexis.
Yeah.
Except happy birthday. What are we doing? Oh, our Patreon.
Yeah.
You can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You can find exclusive podcasts on there like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We have a couple that we do with the Small Beans, that's Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. Those are all for $5 a month, just $5, and you get all of those podcasts. For a little more, we watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. We had a Lou Diamond Phillips night, so, that's exciting.
Yeah. We may have another one. Who knows?
We may have another one, yeah. Who can say? And yeah, there's other tiers. For example, giving someone a We Just Watched episode for a birthday gift. So yeah, check that shit out.
We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts and mugs and stickers and posters and stuff. So, check that out.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's fun. Buying commerce is fun.
The art is fun, but yes, paying for it is also fun.
I like buying stuff.
Yeah, so do I. I like buying things. I like the feeling of having money and then giving it to somebody else.